So Bobby arrives at the railway station to go visit Granny. The train takes 3 seconds to enter a tunnel which is 1 mile long. If it's traveling at the speed of 120 miles per hour, how long will it take to pass completely through the tunnel? "120 miles per hour means 2 miles per minute, so it will take the train 30 seconds to travel 1 mile, plus 3 more seconds to enter the tunnel, making it a total of 33 seconds. 9 years ago, Bobby was 9 years old. How old will he be in 9 years? If Bobby was 9 years old 9 years ago, it means he's currently 18 years old. Thus, in another 9 years, he will be 27 years old. On the train, Bobby gets hungry and pulls some snacks out of his bag. He has a chocolate bar that consists of 2 rows of 8 square pieces each. He can break this bar vertically or horizontally. He wants to break it so that each square piece is separate. How many times does he need to break the bar to make it happen? Two times 8 equals 16. So if we separate each chocolate piece, we'll get a total of 16 pieces. Thus, you need to break the bar 15 times. Bobby arrives at the village. He's walking toward Granny's house. Suddenly, Bobby notices that her neighbor has a new angry dog. It's fastened to a tree. But the chain is long enough for the dog to reach the gate of Grandma's house. How can Bobby reach the gate? Bobby should run around the tree in circles. The dog will follow him and eventually get wrapped around the tree. After that, the gates will be out of the dog's reach. Bobby enters Granny's house. Can you spot 3 mistakes in this picture? The woman in the portrait is missing a shoe. It can't be sunrise at 12 p.m. And Grandma has a rat hiding in a ball of yarn. Granny shows Bobby her new parrot. Can you find its shadow? Only the 4th shadow is correct. Granny asked Bobby to paint her living room. Can you find 5 words in the newly painted room? The first word is bush. Here's the word paint. The 3rd word is owl, and it's hiding over here. Bucket is the 4th word, and the 5th word, broom, is over here. Bobby hears the doorbell ring. He opens the door and sees 3 grandmas with treats. These ladies are neighbors who came for tea, but one of them isn't human. Can you guess who? The first grandma is an imposter. Take a closer look. She has 3 hands. Oh, God. Granny invites over her friends, Thelma and Violet. They're having a tea party with Bobby. He leaves the table for a couple of minutes and then returns. He takes a sip of tea and realizes that someone has added chili to his beverage. He questions the ladies. Granny says, "I was cutting the cake in the kitchen." Violet says, "I was watching the TV in the living room all the time." Thelma says, "I was taking pictures of your cat in the hallway." Who's lying? Violet. There's no TV in the living room. Grandma's cat hid somewhere inside the house. Can you help Bobby catch it? The cat is in this locker. Later that day, Granny asked Bobby to help her with canning some fruits and vegetables. Eventually, she gets tired and goes to bed. Bobby promises to finish everything by himself. Oh no, he lost the recipe. Bobby only remembers that there should be an odd number of identical ingredients – 1, 3, 5, and so on. Which ingredient doesn't belong here? Garlic. What about this set of ingredients? Can you sort any of them out? There are 6 cherries. Goodbye. What can you say about these fruits? Apricots don't belong here. Bobby runs out of jars, so he goes to the barn to grab some more. Unfortunately, Granny put a combination lock on the barn door. Bobby looks around and finds a note with a hint. Can you help him crack the code? The code is not that simple. You need to count the number of boards on each wall, and the resulting password is 7954. Bobby is helping Granny to organize some boxes in the barn. Can you count which stack has the biggest number of boxes? It's the first one. Bobby is trying to organize Granny's tea jars. Can you figure out which stack is bigger? This stack has the largest number of jars. And now Bobby's task is to spot the largest stack of pots. Can you help him? It's the third stack. Bobby's Granny knows a little magic. She gives him a task to mark these 6 bottles with her potions. Can you help him? It's pretty simple. The bottles have some hints. The first bottle is filled with some teeth-whitening syrup, and the second one with frog broth. The third bottle is filled with super-strength tea, and the fourth has an eternal love potion. The fifth bottle is for endless wealth, and the sixth one contains some freezing fluid. It turns out that Bobby's grandma has a dragon egg in her barn. It's very rare and expensive. That's why she hid it among toy eggs. So only one of these 7 eggs isn't fake. Grandma asked Bobby to find it. Here's a hint. It should have some pink color on it, and there are no bubbles on the shell. Also, the egg isn't in the middle, and it's not next to the blue egg. So, where's the dragon egg? Only this one matches the description completely. Bobby leaves the dragon egg in the living room by the fireplace to keep it warm. Finally, he goes to sleep. The next morning, he finds out that the egg is hatched. Can you help Bobby find the little dragon? It's over here on the shelf. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. Bobby opens the door and sees 2 gardeners. One of them is an imposter from another planet. Can you guess who? It's the guy on the left. He doesn't have any ears. Oh no! Bobby asks the imposter to leave. Instead, he pushes Bobby, runs into the house, and steals the little dragon. The thief escapes to the forest. Bobby is chasing him. He comes across these 3 routes. There's a family of bears hanging out on the first route. The second path is enchanted by a wicked wizard. Any animal or bird who dares to walk this route turns into stone. And the third route is infested with sick ticks. Which way is more or less safe? The second way is good to go. The spell only works on animals and birds, not on people. Bobby finds the thief's spaceship in the field. He sees the dragon in a cage nearby. Can you help Bobby crack the 4-digit code to unlock the cage? The note nearby is a hint. Earth is the third planet from the Sun. Mercury is the first one, Mars is the fourth, and Venus is the second. So the code is 3142. Bobby rescues the dragon and brings it back to Granny. He decides to go home by car. The entire trip will take him 100 miles. First of all, he drives 30 miles to a gas station and fills his tank fully. Then he drives another 15 miles until he reaches the car service center. After that, Bobby drives 20 more miles and makes a stop near a small hotel. That's when Bobby realizes that he has already used up exactly 1/2 of the gas tank. What do you think he should do? Keep on driving home or turn around to the gas station? It takes exactly 35 miles to reach Bobby's home. And if we count how many miles ago Bobby was at the gas station, it's 35 as well. It means that the gas in Bobby's car will run out exactly at the moment when he arrives home. So he definitely shouldn't go back to the gas station.
Serena is a private investigator. This year, she decided to spend her vacation at a fancy ski resort. Serena arrives at the main gates and takes a look at the entrance. Then, she turns around to tip her taxi driver. After that, she returns to the gates and spots 3 changes. Can you also see them? Here they are. Serena enters the hotel. 3 porters offer to carry her bags. But one of them cannot help Serena with her luggage. Can you guess who and why? The guy in the middle has transparent hands that go through the walls. He's a ghost. So it's unlikely he'll be able to carry Serena's physical baggage. Serena approaches the reception desk. She's checking in along with 3 other people.
Hello.
Serena takes a look at her passports and immediately spots the fake one. What about you? The second guy's picture is black and white, but it's not a crime. The third lady's document also looks fine, but the picture of the first lady has snow-capped mountains in the background. No matter what country she's from, the background in the passport photo should be plain. So this ID is fake.
Yeah.
Finally, Serena receives a key card for her room. She goes there right away, but unfortunately, the door doesn't open. Serena returns to the reception to complain. She sees another lady complaining about the very same thing. Can you guess what's going on here? Remember the room number on Serena's key? It's 981. If we turn this number upside down, we'll get 186. The manager confused these 2 keys. The ladies should simply exchange the keys, and the incident will be over.
Okay.
Finally, Serena enters her fancy suite. She takes a couple of pictures to send them to her friend. Can you find 10 differences between them? Feel free to stop the video if you need more time. Are you ready to see the answers? Here are all 10 differences. Serena unpacked her bags to go skiing. Oh no! She forgot her hat at home.
Damn it!
Serena goes to the local winter sports store to purchase a new hat. Which items don't belong here? This toy robot, high-heel sandals, and a plastic pyramid shouldn't be here. After shopping, Serena decides to visit the local bakery. Can you spot any extra items here? This can of pet food and a dog bowl doesn't belong here, as well as this cat tree. Finally, Serena is in her ski suit. She's riding in a cable car to the top of the mountain with other resort guests. Can you spot the one who hasn't paid for the lift? I bet this little mouse didn't pay for the ride. The fire alarm wakes Serena up in the middle of the night. One of the cottages on the territory of the ski resort caught fire.
Oh no.
Luckily, all the guests and staff members are safe. Serena finds 3 suspects. One of these people started the fire for sure. Can you guess who? It's the guy in the bathrobe. He's hiding a bottle of fire starter liquid in his pocket.
Oh my god.
In the morning, Serena goes to the breakfast buffet. There are 4 croissants on the tray. One of them is made of plastic.
Oh.
Can you spot which one? Someone has bitten off the first croissant, so it's probably real. The third croissant was a little burnt, so it's real dough. Take a closer look at the 4th croissant. Some chocolate leaked out of it onto the plate, so it must be real too. Therefore, only the 2nd croissant can be plastic.
Oh.
Serena starts her breakfast. A young lady named Maya is eating with her husband, not far from Serena's table. Suddenly, Maya gets sick and faints.
Oh my God.
Her husband calls doctors and they arrive immediately. They conclude that Maya has eaten something poisonous. The husband says, "It's impossible. My wife didn't eat or drink anything today except for the breakfast on this table. I ate it too, and I feel fine." The doctors test the food, and surprisingly, it's perfectly fine.
Oh.
Serena has already cracked this mystery. What about you? The poison was in Maya's lip balm. Serena suspects that Maya's husband poisoned her, so she decides to follow him to find some evidence. He enters his hotel room for a moment and then leaves. Serena sneaks into the room. She finds nothing suspicious except a hotel notebook. Someone tore out exactly 1 page from it. Fortunately, the writer pressed the pen very hard and left traces on the next page. Serena shades the paper with a pencil and reveals the following text. Can you help her decode this message? If we read this text backwards, we'll get Maya is in the hospital. Finish the job.
Oh my god.
Serena rushes to the hospital to get ahead of the criminal. She enters Maya's room and faces 4 clowns. One of them is the criminal, and the rest are just actors who perform all over the hospital to uplift the patients. Can you spot the imposter? The guy with the red bow is the criminal. He sneaked it from the decorations in this room because he was rushing to disguise himself.
Oh.
Serena calls the hospital guards to arrest the imposter, but he pushes everyone away and escapes through the back door. Serena follows him and ends up in the parking lot. The criminal is hiding in one of these cars.
Come to me.
Can you find him? These 3 single cars seem empty and they don't have any signs of break-in. Meanwhile, someone is moving in the back of this pickup truck. Busted! The police arrest the criminal and Maya's husband. Meanwhile, Serena returns to the hotel late at night to get some rest. Oh no! Her room is a mess! Someone clearly rummaged through her things.
What's this?
In the morning, Serena questions 3 suspects. The cleaning lady says, "Yesterday afternoon I changed your bed sheets, washed coffee stains off the carpet, and left." The manager says, "I sent a repairman to fix the sink in your bathroom, but I myself didn't enter." The repairman says, "Last night I visited your room to fix the sink. Your stuff was all over the place, but I just thought you were a messy person." Who's lying? The cleaning lady. She said she had removed the coffee stains from the carpet, but they're still here. Serena lands on a chair in the hotel lounge to sign a stack of postcards for her friends. Suddenly, she smells hot chocolate from the cafeteria. She goes there to order a cup for herself. In a couple of minutes, Serena returns to her chair. Oh no! The postcards are gone. She questions 3 people nearby. Mike says, "I was reading a book all the time, so I didn't look around." Richard says, "I was taking pictures of my girlfriend Stella. You can take a look if you don't believe me." And Stella says, "Richard is telling the truth. I was posing for the camera. Why would I pay attention to your stuff?" After hearing their stories, Serena knows for sure who's guilty. What about you? Take a closer look at Richard's pictures. Stella is in front of a fireplace. If we zoom in, we'll see the postcards in the fire. These liars use them to make the flame burn brighter and look better in the pictures.
What?
Richard apologizes and buys a new stack of postcards for Serena. She grabs one of them and writes the following rebus on it. Can you crack the meaning of this message? To infinity and beyond. Serena is having small talk with Mike. She asks about his hobbies. Instead of answering, Mike draws the following rebus. Can you crack it? He likes to swim underwater. Serena says, "I see you like puzzles. Crack my riddle and I'll get you a huge cup of hot chocolate." Mike agrees. Here's the riddle. The task is to replace the question mark with the correct letter. The letters imply the last letter of the sum of these numbers. 3 times 6 is 18, so the answer is N. 3 times 7 is 21, so the answer is E. And so on. 3 times 0 is 0. That's why we should replace the question mark with 0.
Alice wakes up in the Queen of Hearts castle. It's better to run as fast as possible. Alice leaves the hallway safely and faces 3 doors. Unfortunately, there's a danger lurking behind each door. The first passage is filled with toxic gas. It drives people mad in the blink of an eye. Behind the second door, there's a damp tunnel half filled with poisoned water. Drinking this water is fatal for any person. And an angry guard is waiting behind the third door. He arrests anyone who dares to enter. Which way is more or less safe? Alice should choose the second option. The water is only dangerous if you drink it. Alice can cover her mouth and quickly run through the tunnel.
Yes!
Alice gets away from the queen. She goes ahead and faces 2 unexpected obstacles in the forest. But what's more dangerous, a bear or a swarm of bees? The bear is about to run after its prey. It won't pay any attention to Alice. But the bees seem pretty angry. They'll most likely go after her. Alice continues her journey and meets the caterpillar. This creature agrees to give Alice a ride if she cracks a small riddle. The caterpillar's body consists of 3 equal parts. The first part of the body depicts 3 numbers, 4, 3, and 5. The second part also has 3 numbers, 3, 1, and 8. The third part is missing 1 digit. Can you guess this digit? Each stack of digits totals 12, so the missing number is 5.
Oh, yes.
The caterpillar brings Alice to the logical kingdom. Its inhabitants, called knaves, always lie. Meanwhile, its inhabitants, called knights, always tell the truth. Alice meets 3 locals, Audrey, Bill, and Carol. She has no idea about who is who. So Alice asks Audrey, "Is Bill a knight or a knave?" Audrey replies, "Bill is a knight." Then Alice asks Bill, "Are Audrey and Carol both knights or both knaves?" Bill replies, "Yes." And finally, Alice asks Carol, "Is Bill a knight or a knave?" Carol replies, "Bill is a knave." Now, can you help Alice figure out who is a knight and who is a knave? Since Audrey and Carol answer differently to the same question, they cannot both be knights or knaves. They must represent one of each type. Since this is counter to what Bill answered, he must be lying. Therefore, Bill must be a knave. That means that Carol answered truthfully and she's a knight, and Audrey didn't, so she's a knave. Alice continues her journey and meets the Mad Hatter. He promises to show her the way out. But first, Alice should answer his twisted questions. Here's the first one. What's the difference between a cat and a comma? One has claws at the end of its paws, and the other has a pause at the end of a clause. Alice nails it and gets the next riddle from the Hatter. What can you see with your eyes closed? The answer? A dream. To whom do all men take off their hats? To a barber. What occurs twice a week, once in a year, but never in a day? It's the letter E. And finally, the last question. I can be long or I can be short. I can be grown and I can be bought. I can be painted or left bare. I can be round or square. What am I? Ooh, fingernails.
Yeah.
The Hatter tells Alice to follow the White Rabbit, but first, she has to decide which one of these 3 rabbits is the real one. Can you help her? The first rabbit's tail is too long. It's the Cheshire Cat pretending to be a rabbit. The second one has a seam on its belly and a tiny logo on its ear, so it's just a toy. Thus, the third rabbit with a pocket watch is the one we're looking for. Alice takes a look at the White Rabbit's watch. The minute and hour hands are exactly between the digits 1 and 2. Also, Alice notices that both hands lie exactly one above the other. What's the time? It's 12 o'clock. See, both minute and hour hands point exactly to the middle of the number 12, which is precisely between 1 and 2. Alice tells the rabbit, "You should get a digital watch. It can show time as palindromic numbers, which are read the same both forward or backward, like 1221, for example. The rabbit asks, "What's the minimum interval between two times that are palindromic?" Can you solve the mystery? The correct answer is 2 minutes. It's between 9:59 and 10:01. The White Rabbit invites Alice to his house and asks her to help him find these 4 items. Can you see them in this picture? Here they are. The White Rabbit says that Alice needs to pass through the royal garden to escape. Alice follows his advice. Suddenly, she sees a huge chessboard. How many squares of any size can you find on this chessboard that do not contain a rook? Feel free to pause the video if you need more time. Let's see. First of all, we have 62 small rook-free squares. Also, we have 41 2x2 squares, 18 3x3 squares, and 6 4x4 squares. And finally, there's one 5x5 square. So the correct answer is 128. Alice is about to pass through the garden undetected when she overhears the Queen of Hearts arguing with her husband that 64 is the same as 65. To prove her point, the Queen calls 4 card guards. 2 of them are trapezoid cards that have non-diagonal sides measuring 5x5x3. The other 2 are long triangle cards with non-diagonal sides measuring 8x3. All 4 laid down on a chessboard measuring 8x8. Then the same cards rearrange themselves on a board measuring 5x13. They appear to take up the same space, confusing Alice. Can you try to explain this mystery? This is the legendary Alice in Wonderland riddle, otherwise known as the mathematical chessboard paradox. Let's look again at the trapezoid and the triangle cards lying next to each other. They look like they cover exactly half of the triangle. Their edges are forming one long line running from corner to corner. If that's true, then the slopes of their diagonal sides should be the same. But when mathematicians calculate these slopes using a special formula, curious things happen. The trapezoid card's diagonal side goes up 2 and over 5, giving it a slope of 2/5. However, the triangle's card diagonal goes up 3 and over 8, making its slope 3/8. So, if we take a closer look, we'll see a tiny gap between the triangles and trapezoids. This gap forms a parallelogram that stretches the entire length of the board and accounts for the missing square. The mystery is solved. The Queen of Hearts is furious, so Alice rushes to hide in the garden maze. It's very twisted. Can you help Alice find a safe way out? Here's the only way out. Alice nails it and runs to the forest. Suddenly, she meets a Cheshire cat. Alice asks him to show her the way. That's when he replies, "Take away my first letter and I'll point anywhere. Take away my last letter and I'll laugh at anything. What am I?" Can you help Alice crack this puzzle? The correct answer is a hat. If we remove the first letter, we get ha, and if we remove the last one, at. Alice should find the Mad Hatter to drink some magic tea and come back home. She's lucky because he's throwing a tea party today. The Mad Hatter invites the March Hare, the Dormouse, and Alice. The Mad Hatter is sitting not opposite to Alice. The March Hare is not on the Dormouse's right, and the Dormouse is not on Alice's left. Can you figure out who sits where? Here's the correct setting. Hey, look at these couples. Can you spot anything weird here? Seems like the only real wife is the one on the right. She looks grumpy, but she is authentically human. Meanwhile, the lady on the left must be a robot. Just look at her legs. A local bank's money was stolen right in the middle of the day. But no one noticed that. Several days later, the room where the money used to be stored was found completely empty. There was just one note saying 7718. The police arrested 3 suspects, Bill, Jeff, and Cody, but the officers didn't know which of them was guilty. They invited a famous detective to crack the mysterious case, and the detective managed to decipher the note immediately. Can you do it too? So, turn the paper upside down. This way, the numbers turn into a name, Bill. The man wants to enter an exclusive club, but he doesn't know the password. Another man walks up to the entrance. The doorman says 12, and the man says 6, and is allowed to enter. Another man approaches. The doorman says 6, the man says 3, and the doorman lets him in. Thinking he's heard enough, our guy walks to the door. When the doorman says 10, he says 5, but he isn't allowed to enter. What should he have said? Three. The correct answer is the number of letters in the word the doorman says. Martin was a robber. One day he was trying to escape from the police after robbing a bank. He had 3 gold bars in his arms, each weighing 20 pounds. Ooh. The only way to get away was to cross a bridge, which could only support 220 pounds. The 3 bars of gold weigh 60 pounds, and Martin weighed 180 pounds. Could he cross the bridge without getting rid of any of the bars? Now, Martin can't leave a bar of gold and come pick it up later, so the only solution is to make those bars fly. To make it happen, Martin must juggle them. This way, only 2 bars will add extra weight to the bridge, while the third one will always remain airborne. Voila! 180 plus 20 plus 20 equals 220, so the bridge can totally handle it. However, Martin couldn't handle it because he couldn't juggle, and the police got their man. A thief entered a high-end boutique and forced the shop assistant to open the safe. The shop assistant said, "The code for the safe is different every day, and if you harm me, you'll never get the code." But the thief managed to guess the code on his own. How did he do it? The thief was smart. The code to the safe was the word different, just as the shop assistant said. A wealthy businessman, Mr. Ben Swift, was taken away and locked up in a dark room. His phone had almost no charge. He could only send one message. He knew that someone could be spying on his phone, so he decided to send a message with a code to a high school friend, John Smith, who had a detective agency. He remembered that in high school, they would cipher messages to each other, replacing each letter with the one to the left. So he sent this. Can you guess what it means? It's not gibberish. Once you decipher it, the message reads accountant, so it seems his accountant is to blame. You're wandering through the jungle when, all of a sudden, you see a magnificent ancient castle. You enter it and see its inhabitants. It's kind of hard to say if they're friendly or not, but hey, look, they've just fetched you some snacks. Still, you can tell from their grins that these snacks might be a trap for you. You can't say no to them and need to choose something to eat. There are 4 muffins in front of you. They all look yummy and your mouth is watering. One of the inhabitants, who seems to be the leader, tells you that the first muffin has some fermented cabbage inside. The second is swarming with live ants. The third has mud instead of chocolate cream. And the fourth one has ackee fruit inside. So, which dessert should you opt for? A muffin with fermented cabbage may sound weird, but it's safe to eat. You've tried fermented cabbage, aka kimchi, before and you loved it. For those who love unusual stuff, the fourth muffin is okay too. Ackee fruit is delicious when cooked properly. As for the ants and mud muffins, I'd pass. Lucy is a nail technician. Her services are free to anyone who wants to set up an appointment. However, most people still end up paying her. How so? Lucy only does one hand for free, so most people who come end up paying the full price. They don't want to look weird with their nails done only on one hand. Poor Kathy lived with a stepmother and 3 wicked stepsisters. Her dream was to go to a lit party, which she had been waiting for a year. Her stepmother, Eveline, never let Kathy go anywhere. But this time, Eveline decided to let Kathy go as soon as she had finished with all her tasks. The stepmother asked Kathy to bring her some water, but she gave her a colander to carry the water. How can Kathy bring the water if she has nothing but a colander? Kathy needs to freeze some water and put it in the colander. It'll take some time to melt. When Eveline gets that colander full of ice, technically, it'll be full of water. Jeremy got lost while driving, so he found the nearest town and decided to spend the night in a hotel. After checking in, he went to the restaurant. Suddenly, the lights went off and everyone fell asleep. The next morning, Jeremy had a terrible headache and he couldn't remember anything. Look at these 2 photos. They were taken before and after the lights went out. Can you guess what happened? Look, there are some balloons in the first photo, but none in the second one. They must have been filled with sleeping gas. Someone wanted everyone to sleep. Jenny went grocery shopping and bought a lot of milk, yogurt, meat, and cheese. When she came back home, she realized that she had nowhere to store all these products as her fridge was already full. How can she save all the food she bought? Jenny needs to revise the stuff in her fridge. Look, there's a pack of rice, some chips, and even cookies. These products don't need to be stored in the fridge. Once she takes them out of the fridge, she'll have enough space to store the dairy products and meat she bought. Twiggy's got her 2 piggies. Alex grooves with his 2 wolves. And Tony has a pony. They're all on the shore of a vast and dangerous river. They need to get across, and there's only one small raft nearby. But it's not as simple as it might seem. There are 5 rules the guys need to follow. Rule number 1, the raft can only carry 2 of them. Number 2, only humans can row. Number 3, the piggies can't ride with Alex unless Twiggy is around. Number 4, the wolves can't ride with Twiggy without Alex. And finally, number 5, the pony can only ride with Tony. How can they all get across? First, they need Tony on board. He needs to take one of the wolves across the river. The rules don't prohibit it. When he comes back, Alex takes the second wolf across the river. Then Alex goes back alone. Twiggy joins him and they go to the other bank, where Twiggy leaves Alex and goes back alone. She gives the raft to Tony and his pony, and they go to the other bank. When they reach it, Alex takes the raft and goes back to pick up Twiggy. He picks her up, they go back, and Twiggy leaves Alex there. After that, she goes back to pick up her pigs one by one. Finally, I thought this was never going to end. Hey!